One day around noon, a fisherman is sitting on the docks smoking his pipe next to his haul for the day. A wealthy industrialist sees this and is positively confounded.
"Why aren't you out fishing?"
demands the industrialist to the fisherman. "I've caught all the fish I need for the day," said the fisherman.
"Why don't you go catch more?"
"And why would I do that?" replied the fisherman.
"Why, if you caught more fish, you could get a bigger boat, go to deeper waters, and catch more fish. Soon you could have a fleet of fishing boats, all getting you fish to sell. You could be rich."
The fisherman sits and ponders for a second. Then he asks, "And why would I want that?" The industrialist is astounded at the insolence of the fisherman and shouts,
"If you were rich, you could spend all day relaxing and doing whatever you want."
The fisherman quickly shoots back, "What the hell's it look like I'm doing right now?" An old priest got sick of everyone in his parish confessing adultery. During one Sunday's sermon, he told them,
"If one more person confesses to adultery, I'll quit."
Since everyone liked him, they decided to use a code word, fallen. From then on, anyone who had committed adultery said that they had fallen. This satisfied the old priest, as well as the parishioners, and everything was fine for years. Until finally, the old priest passed away at the ripe old age of 93. Shortly after the new young priest settled in, he paid a call on the mayor. The priest was quite concerned. "You have to do something about the sidewalks in this town, Mayor. You can't believe how many people come into the confessional talking about having fallen." The mayor started to laugh, realizing that no one had explained their code word to the new priest. But before the mayor could explain, the priest shook his finger at the mayor and said, "I don't know why you're laughing. Your wife fell 3 times last week." David received a parrot for his birthday. The parrot was fully grown, with a bad attitude and a worse vocabulary. Every other word was an expletive. Those that weren't expletives were, to say the least, rude. David tried hard to change the bird's attitude and was constantly saying polite words, playing soft music, anything he could think of to try and set a good example. Nothing worked. He yelled at the bird and the bird yelled back. He shook the bird and the bird just got more angry and ruder. Finally, in a moment of desperation, David grabbed the parrot and threw it in the freezer. For a few moments, he heard the bird squawk and kick and scream. Then suddenly, there was quiet. Not a sound for half a minute. David was frightened that he might have hurt the bird and quickly opened the freezer door. The parrot calmly stepped out onto David's extended arm and said,
"Rock, I believe I may have offended you with my rude language and actions. Rock, I will immediately correct my behavior. I'm truly sorry and beg your forgiveness."
David was astonished at the bird's change in attitude and was about to ask what had made such a dramatic change, when the parrot continued,
"Rock, by the way, may I ask what the turkey did? Rock!"
3 old men were sitting on a park bench when a reporter approached them.
"I wonder if you 3 would be willing to do an interview and tell me your secret to a long life,"
the reporter asked. The 3 old men agreed, and the reporter asked the first old man his secret to a long life. "I never drank alcohol, I never smoked tobacco, and I have been married to the same woman for 50 years.
"That's really remarkable," said the reporter. "And how old are you?"
"I'm 93, said the first old man. The second man was asked the same question on his secret to a long life.
"I drank on occasion, I smoked, but not often, and I dated some." "And how old are you?"
asked the reporter.
"I'm 91,
said the second man. Finally, the reporter approached the third old man and asked his secret to a long life.
"I dated every woman that would go out with me. I drank until I passed out. And I smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day." "Wow," said the reporter. "And how old are you?"
The third man replied,
"I just turned 29.
A dinner speaker was in a hurry to get to his engagement. When he arrived and sat down at the head table, he suddenly realized that he had forgotten his false teeth. Turning to the man next to him, he whispered, "I forgot my teeth." The man said,
"No problem."
With that, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a pair of false teeth.
"Try these,"
he said. The speaker tried them. Thanks, but they're too loose, he said. The man said,
I have another pair. Try these.
The speaker tried them and responded, too tight. The man was not taken back at all. He then said,
I have one more pair of false teeth. Try these.
This time, the speaker said, they fit perfectly. With that, he ate his meal, then delivered his address to the crowd. After the dinner meeting was over, the speaker went over to thank the man who had helped him. I want to thank you for coming to my aid. Where is your office? I've been looking for a good dentist. The man replied,
I'm not a dentist. I'm a mortician.
Little Johnny was seated next to a stranger on a plane. The stranger turned to him and said, let's talk. I've heard that flights will go quicker if you strike up a conversation with your fellow passenger. Little Johnny, who had just opened his book, closed it slowly and asked the stranger,
What would you like to discuss?
Oh, I don't know, answered the stranger. How about nuclear power?
That could be an interesting topic,
replied Johnny.
But let me ask you a question first. A horse, a cow, and a deer all eat grass. Yet a deer excretes little pellets, while the cow turns out a flat patty, and a horse produces clumps of dried grass. Why do you suppose that is?
Geez, said the stranger, I have no idea.
Well then, said Little Johnny, how is it that you feel qualified to discuss nuclear power when you don't know
A defendant was on trial for murder. There was strong evidence indicating guilt, but there was no corpse. In the defense's closing statement, his lawyer, knowing that his client would probably be convicted, resorted to a trick. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I have a surprise for you all, the lawyer said as he looked at his watch. Within 1 minute, the person presumed dead in this case will walk into this courtroom. He looked toward the courtroom door. The jurors, somewhat stunned, all looked on eagerly. A minute passed, nothing happened. Finally, the lawyer said, Actually, I made up the previous statement. But you all looked on with anticipation. I therefore put to you that you have a reasonable doubt in this case as to whether anyone was killed. And I insist that you return a verdict of not guilty. The jury, clearly confused, retired to deliberate. A few minutes later, the jury returned and pronounced a verdict of guilty. But how? Inquired the defense lawyer. You must have had some doubt. I saw you all stare at the door. The foreman of the jury replied, Oh, we did look. But your client didn't.